Hello, everybody, and welcome to the TeacherCast podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Jeff Bradbury, the host of the TeacherCast Educational Broadcasting Network. Thank you for making TeacherCast your home for professional development. There's, of course, a lot of great things that have been happening here on the TeacherCast Educational Broadcasting Network recently. We recently did a great Tech Educator podcast all about Google Spaces. If you haven't checked out Google Spaces, check it out today over at spaces.google.com. We've got some great tips, tricks, and hints over on our website, techeducatorpodcast.com, and look forward to hearing from you from there. Of course, there's been a lot of other things going on with our website. We just had a brand new refresh and redesign, and I want to say thank you to everybody who's been checking it out, and also welcome you guys out there to join our family of guest bloggers. We are up to over 55 educators now checking out the site and writing on the site. Many of you guys out there have a passion for writing and a passion for sharing your writings. We want to be that place to help you out. If you are a writer or want to get into that stuff, please check us out. You can, of course, find us over on Twitter at TeacherCast. Email us at feedback@TeacherCast. And, of course, reach out to us by voice at teachercast.net/voicemail. We would love to hear you. We would love to have you be part of the TeacherCast educational writing community. It is alive. It is warm. It is welcome. Today we're going to be talking all about some of the things that you can do in your class with Scannable technology. My guest today is Monica Burns, an Apple Distinguished Educator, author, speaker, teacher, and fantastic person. Monica, welcome to the show today. How are you? Welcome to TeacherCast.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here tonight. Tonight we're going to be talking all about some of the great things that you've been doing in your career. Talk a little bit about what it takes to be a Scannable teacher and some of the Scannable resources that we have available to us. We'll talk a little bit about your time as an Apple Distinguished Educator. We'll talk a little bit about your wonderful blog, ClassTechTips.com. If you haven't checked it out yet, ClassTechTips.com is a fantastic site. So many things. Where should we start? Monica, let's just start at the beginning. Who is Monica Burns?
Well, thank you so much for having me on this evening. It's just such a pleasure to share some of the work that I've been doing. And just to give you a little bit of background about that work in the ed tech space, I'm a former New York City public school teacher. Now that I'm out of the classroom, I do teacher training and writing about all things ed tech. So all sorts of ideas for integration, really thoughtful, meaningful connections to learning goals for students. And that's really the focus of my work in all facets of my day.
Tell us a little bit about your time in the classroom.
So I taught in New York City. My last 2 years were in a one-to-one iPad classroom, which really transitioned to the work that I do now for teacher training around thoughtful integration of educational technology tools. And it was a fantastic experience. I'm still here in New York, and being able to kind of jet around to different spaces and places and see what's happening in other teachers' classrooms has been such a wonderful part of the work that I do now, in addition to the writing and the sharing about thoughtful technology integration.
Now, with your teacher training, what types of topics are you training on these days? Is Google still the hot topic? Is Apple iPad still the hot topic? What are you finding out there as you go through different school districts and school systems? What are teachers really looking for these days?
Great question. And, I'm an Apple Distinguished Educator. More often than not, I'm called to wear my iPad hat, if you will, when I go to visit different classrooms. But most of the training that I do, so a full day of professional development, a long term in the classroom engagement, has to do more with a larger view, if you will. So how are we using the tools that we have, whether they're Chromebooks, whether they're iPads, whether it's a BYOD, and we have a little bit of everything to help turn our students into creators, to be more effective with our formative assessment, to integrate scannable technology into the work that we're doing. So it's been interesting over the past few years to really shift from this is our device and what are we going to do with it, to we have a wide range of possibilities and help us just be more effective, generally speaking, to make sure that the learning is first and the technology helps make that more efficient, and effective for students and teachers.
I want to pick up on two things you said. You had mentioned Scannable technologies but you also had mentioned students as creators.
Mhm.
What does that mean? What does that mean to you? And why is it important that we allow students to take those risks, learn, fail, learn again, and be those creators?
So, really pushing students to the highest of levels. It really goes beyond just evaluating to creating their own materials. And we can do that with a variety of technology tools, whether it's the new Adobe Spark tools, which I'm really excited about since they're device agnostic, or some of the book creator tools, which I'm doing a series of webinars for in the upcoming months, right? Really empowering students to demonstrate their understanding through creation tools is such an important part of their everyday experience, in and outside of the classroom, huge for connections to real world environments. And so the Scannable Tech Connection, I just wrote a new book about QR codes and augmented reality for deeper learning is obviously something I'm passionate about, but part of the ACEs framework, the S in that framework, has to do with sharing student work. So they're digital creations. We can connect those to QR codes, to augmented reality triggers, and really use Scannable tech to share student creations to a wider audience in a very purposeful manner, in a place that makes sense, or giving some context to some of the work that they're creating.
Well, let's get into this a little bit here. Scannable technology, and you call it the ACEs method. Is that right? Am I saying that the right way?
Yeah, so my book with Corwin that just came out this past March is all about deeper learning with scannable technology. So QR codes and augmented reality. And in that book, I outline an ACEs framework for thinking about deep, meaningful, effective integration of scannable technology. And the A is for access. We can use scannable technology to quickly access information. You scan and you're there, quickly, easily, really cutting down on some of that transition time, management issues, all of the above. And then the C in the ACEs is for curation. So I, as the educator, can decide, right, what are the just right materials for you? What are perfect for this moment, this exploration that we're doing? The E for engagement is more than just that gimmick and the hook and getting you excited, but am I really creating interactive experiences, something that's getting you in the flow of learning, with engaging experiences with scannable technology. And then coming back to that S with the sharing student work with scannables. I connect the link to that creation that you made on ThingLink, to a QR code that's attached to a poster or to the top, the front of a book that gives someone some extra information before they dive in. So quick ways to really connect students with authentic audiences.
So, when we're looking at scannable technology, we really are looking at technology that can be used for scanning. Is scannable
Mhm.
technology for everybody? I mean, I have had people ask me on a Chromebook, where is the camera on the other side? And I had to explain,
Mhm.
it doesn't always have a camera on the other side. Is this like an iPad, iPhone thing only? Or talk to us a little bit about who
Yeah.
scannable technology is and isn't for sometimes.
So I love scannable technology because it's free. You can create QR codes with a copy and a paste into a QR code generator like goqr.me. You can do it with qrstuff.com, you name it. You Google QR code maker, and you'll get a whole bunch that pop up that are free and easy to use. If you're in a Chromebook environment, you might say, you know what? My goal is to get materials in the hands of students, and I can do that really easily with Google Classroom or Edmodo or Schoology. So maybe that's not the best route for you. In a mobile environment, you're thinking, all of my kids with all their devices can still have a QR code, can still have something like a Daiquiri app or Blip Bar or Quiver that's Android and iOS friendly. So we're good to go. But Chromebooks are not prohibitive. So you might have something that has a QR code, and you could have a QR code that you can scan with that webcam on your Chromebook. Something like webqr.com lets you scan using the built in camera on your device. So it's all about choosing moments that are meaningful for your students. So, what I love about scannable technology is that you can thoughtfully place QR codes in different places. You can decide when you want to have augmented interactive experiences with students. And I think mobile devices are the obvious choice for that interactive, engaging experience. But it doesn't mean that just because you're on a Chromebook, you can't scan a QR code or make augmented reality experiences on our Erasmus Studio from your Chromebook. So just like any type of technology, it's about deciding what are your learning goals, what do you want students to be able to accomplish, and putting those objectives first and foremost before you move on to any other types of activities just for the because of it with students.
We're talking to Monica Burns here from ClassTechTips.com. Monica, about scannable technology here. How young is too young? Is this something that we should be teaching our younger kids? I oftentimes see kids trying, or teachers trying to use scannable technology, QR codes, in place of teaching typing. Is there a means for doing that in the younger grades?
That's a really good point to bring up, because one of the great things about QR codes is I can scan that QR code and go straight to that website. And I do a good deal of teacher training. And if I put a website up in front of a group of 40 teachers and ask them to type in that website and go to that place on the web, half of the room might make an entry error. It's not because they can't spell the words or they don't understand the difference between uppercase and lowercase. It's because I'm asking them to do something with kind of a countdown clock because I want to move forward in the lesson. So for younger students, I don't see it as a crutch. I see it as a way to get them connected to the right information in the right amount of time. There's a time and a place to teach those other skills, like typing appropriately, copying something, and all of those pieces. But from a scannable perspective, my goal with picking materials and getting students to those places quickly is to make sure that I'm using the 40 minutes, the 60 minutes I might have in a lesson as efficiently as possible. So I don't see it as much as a crutch, as much as a way to get them to where I need them to be in order to be most effective.
I love that you're talking about keeping it for the maximum time. Brings up a true story that somebody suggested to me that I actually tried. They said, well, while you're I'm going to say this here, but while you're planning out your school year, put a few QR codes in the restroom. And so that way, when the student decides to leave your class, they can scan the QR code and still be watching the video that you're teaching for the day. Too much? Over the hill? Over the top?
Yeah,
What do you think?
I mean, I have to tell you, I'm a QR code person. I spent a good deal of last year writing a manuscript that is now a published book that is on Amazon. You can purchase it in paperback or download it on Kindle. And I feel very passionate about the power of scannable technology in the classroom. But it's just like anything, right? If I see a QR code on a coaster while I'm out to dinner, or on the back of a cereal box, or on a subway poster while I'm underground and I don't have any cellular service, how am I going to scan this and get information? Am I going to scan the back of the ketchup bottle just so I can like that Heinz Facebook page? I'm not sure if that's the type of agency I have as a consumer to interact with materials that way. So, for any of the ways that we use technology, I want to make sure that it's very purposeful, that you have a vision for how it's going to be used, that there is some type of culture building within a school to make sure that you are setting up students and families for success, so they understand that when they scan something, this will happen and it will give you this type of benefit, and that's wonderful and you see value in it. But I'm not sure that placing QR codes in all the corners of your building is the most effective way to use a technology that can be really powerfully implemented into a classroom. So it's all about, what is that culture in your school? Do your students have a sense of curiosity that when they have a down moment, they're going to scan the back cover of a book, that they're going to wait in the hallway and scan that poster to get more information? I'm just not sure if those kind of more intimate spaces, or the less spaces where there might not be conversations about text or things that are on the wall would be the most appropriate way to use it, or somewhere where you would expect the same type of results that you might have in a space where, say, an art exhibit or a student work exhibit is on the wall, and I know I can scan and I'll see a video pop up in an augmented reality experience. Is going to be very different than me passively scanning without really understanding what I'll get from that, if you will.
Mm-hmm. I notice you're mentioning an awful lot of apps today. As somebody who's trying to get into scannable technology for the first time, what one or two apps would you steer them to just to kind of get their feet wet?
Yeah, so one of the things I talk about in my book is, my love of QR codes for being device agnostic or device neutral. So iNigma is one I usually throw around when I'm doing trainings because iNigma is available on iPad, on Android, on Blackberries, on Windows, you name it. So if your kids have it on the device in school, they can help their parents download it at home. It's talks to each other. It's nice and simple. And QR codes are a great way to get started. They're free, they're simple, very straightforward. And the same thing goes with augmented reality. You can create your own AR experiences with Erasmus, with Daiquiri, with BlipR and their dashboards. But there's also a lot of pre-made high quality augmented reality experience. Daiquiri has human anatomy, they have the elements. Quiver Vision has some really nice educational pages that you can print out and be ready to go with your students. So for those of the teachers just getting started, I love QR codes because they're free and easy and device neutral. But I'm really excited about some of the pre-made augmented reality experiences as well.
With all of these apps that are out there and that are available, one might ask the question, how do we determine good app versus bad app? Now, I'm looking over here
Mhm.
at Class Tech Tips, and I know you do offer a service where somebody can, sign up to send you an app and you'll review it. But talk to us a little bit about that. What kinds of things should a teacher consider when using an app or checking out an app or wanting to bring that app into their educational space?
So my biggest mantra, if you will, and something that I bring into the talks that I do with teachers and a phrase that I use frequently is this idea of tasks before apps. There's wonderful technology tools out there, and there's great things that are exciting and energizing, and that you see and you just want to use and figure out how they're going to fit into your classroom. But the most important piece is the learning objective. What is it that you want your students to accomplish by the end of the lesson, by the end of the school year? You name it, right? You need to have that set out ahead of time and really understand what your goals are for learning at any point in the school year. And so that should come first and foremost when you're saying, all right, I know what it is my students need to do. What is going to help them get there? Maybe it would be great if there was an app that would help them figure out the differences between sedimentary rocks and igneous rocks, right? That would help them move in the direction I'm looking them to go. But ultimately, I want them to say, create a tutorial to help other students understand how to tell the difference between different types of rocks or the best strategy for solving a math problem. So for me, when you're curating these apps for your own class, and obviously I do a lot of curation work and sharing of ideas of the how you could use this in your classroom, how I've used something in my classroom or seen it in other people's classrooms. It really comes down to your learning goals, what your students need, and what fits with your teaching style and just your goals for the school year.
Monica, I love the fact that you're always publishing. You're always out there sharing your knowledge with everybody. I was looking through iTunes and I
Mhm.
noticed that there's two books in particular here, 25 Ways to Become a Tech Savvy Teacher. And then the other one is 25 More Ways.
Mhm.
So we have 50 ways of being a tech savvy teacher. What is the difference? Like, at what point should a teacher say, I'm tech savvy? Is it just having an email address? Is it using AR somewhere in the middle? How does one become a tech savvy teacher or know that they are?
So I think it really comes to a shifting of your mindset, to deciding, what are your goals, what's working, what can I energize, what can I elevate with technology tools? Am I really preparing students for what's going to come into their world down the line? And there's a lot of unknowns there. When we think about what are transferable skills, what are 21st century skills, we're really in this happy place right now in many schools of being in a Google Classroom, having all these collaboration and all these different things happen on different Google tools, and it's wonderful. And by no means am I, trying to downplay how important those tools are for supporting certain skills with students. But we also want to say, what are our big goals beyond the tool. I want students to be able to collaborate, to be able to comment on other student work effectively, to be able to create for a specific audience, to see connections to the real world. And so I really think that's where that bridge happens to, being tech savvy is more than being literate with specific tools, as to seeing the big picture. And for me, in the work that I do, a lot of which is with teachers who are, mastering answering their emails, but maybe moving forward a little bit more with finding the right consumption tools, the right interactive tools, the right creation tools. And so for me, I really like the idea of laying a foundation that feels comfortable, accessible, where teachers really see the potential for where things can go as more tools are introduced and added to their tool belt.
A lot of teachers out there, I can imagine, Monica, are trying to figure out where to go. Everybody's got these 100 places to go, or 25 this or that for blog posts,
Mm-hmm.
and all of that stuff is fantastic. I find that one of the best places to go looking for resources is Pinterest. And I see that
Mm-hmm.
you have a very, very active site over here, pinterest.com/class tech tips. Do you find Pinterest is important to find stuff as it is to share stuff?
Oh, I love Pinterest. And, I do a lot of work with teachers when it comes to, solving specific problems that they might have, right? We have this issue when it comes to, figuring out the best way for, handling our conferences, or for handling our small group instruction. And there are so many great resources on Pinterest. I find more often than not that I am searching on Pinterest as a search engine than I am on Google for resources when I'm trying to support teachers. So, if I'm working with a school and they're trying to tackle a particular logistical problem or organizational issue, I'll go into my Pinterest automatically and just type in the same keywords I might put into Google into Pinterest, because I'm going to find more relevant content that's curated by educators primarily, especially on a platform like Pinterest. I find it to be a fantastic resource. And like you mentioned, I've been active on Pinterest for, a handful of years now, and everything I post and I'm excited about, I share on different on Pinterest, pages as well. But it's just such a wonderful place to search within an ecosystem that you can feel, is vetted to some extent,
Oh,
in a way
absolutely.
that Google might feel overwhelming.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you can do a search on Google and get a billion things. I find Pinterest is
Mhm.
the best place to find like STEM resources, and those little things because it's all visual, right? Like I want to learn how to
Mhm.
make a catapult, and boom, there's like 15 things, but they're all visual, and I love the fact that they're all done by educators.
Yes.
Monica, when you're looking for inspiration for writing things, when you're looking for what's that next subject, what's that next app, who's got it, where do you go?
That's just such a wonderful thing to highlight, because I think for all of us, no matter where we are in our stage of, say, tech integration or just our educational journey, our individual PLNs are so crucial. And I'm very lucky to be part of the Apple Distinguished Educator Network. So there's so many folks that I follow, whether it's on Facebook or Pinterest or on Twitter lists, and those are people who I really value their opinion for what they're trying out themselves, for what they heard about and are excited. And I really get to travel a good deal and speak about tools that I'm excited about, and being at different conferences regionally really is wonderful, because I'm able to see what people are excited about in different, say, parts of the country, or different kind of hotbeds of innovation. And it's just so exciting to see what trends are there, and commonalities, but also what little things are really picking up in certain places as well.
We're here talking to Monica Burns from Class Tech Tips, speaker, author, educator. You name it, she's done it. Monica, before I let you go, we have a little tradition here when we have people come on the show. I'm going to spring this one on you. It's called
Mhm.
the Jersey Five. 5 questions to make you really think about things right now. Would you be interested and willing to be put on the spot to take the
I'm
Jersey Five?
happily.
All right. Question number one. They get harder as they go here.
Mhm.
Your favorite Twitter handle to follow or hashtag to follow?
Well, as I mentioned before, I'm a big fan of what's happening in New Jersey education. As a New Yorker turning into a New Jerseyan, so the Sat Chat Twitter handle is one that I follow, whether I am participating live on time in Sat Chats on Saturday morning, or I'm catching up a little later on a Saturday afternoon. It's a place where I'm just so inspired by what people are sharing.
All right. Number 2, favorite educational tool to use, recommend, however you want to end that.
Well, I've been really excited about Nearpod, and it's been something I use in the classroom. Gosh, going on, 3 or 4 years ago at this point, with my students, before I left the classroom, and it's something I use on the ground with teachers. And one of the reasons I love it so much is because of the way you can easily set up and plan for formative assessment, but also do those in the moment embedded formative assessment to gather information on student understanding and make decisions for where your lesson's going to go today and then the next day.
Nice. We love Nearpod here on TeacherCast.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3, what is the best advice you've ever been given as an educator?
Well, I think my best advice might have been when I was in the classroom, this idea that, there's a tomorrow. So when you feel like you might have hit your wall for the day, that you did as much as you can do on what feels like a never-ending to-do list as a classroom teacher or as an educator in any role, that tomorrow will come and you'll be able to pick it up and your mission will still be the same. And that was huge for me in terms of really thinking about what my week would look like, let alone what my day-to-day would be.
That's a good one. I like that one. That's a good one. Number 4, what do you hope your students remember about you when they graduate at the end of the year?
Gosh, I've gone through a handful of classes, and it's been interesting to have some children who are now beyond their elementary years graduating, who have reached out to me on social media and all those channels. And I really just hope that students remember that they need to ask questions. They need to be curious, that they may not find the answers right away. But one of my goals as an educator was always to create an environment where we're really saying them, but what if this? And then, right, and just keep going with those questions, because we might not find something right away. But I just want students to feel this passion to keep asking those questions.
Number 5, and last one here. What is the best teachable moment you've ever had?
Oh, I would say some of my favorite teachable moments came during read alouds. And having taught grade 5 before I left the classroom, so students who might feel a little old for a picture book, but so on target for a picture book at the same time. I just love some of the questions, some of the moments and the responses where you just know you have to pause during Pink and Say by Patricia Polacco, or during a heavy Eve Bunting book, and have those conversations to address some questions that students might pop up. I love the way that a read aloud can promote questions. And I know it's not a particularly techie answer, but it's definitely something that I feel is just a best practice and an important part of our whole child integration.
I swear out there, I did not give her these questions ahead of time. Monica, where can we connect with you? Where can we can find you online? Give us a little bit of a few plugs here.
So classtechtips.com is where I blog. We're doing a big site revamp, which I think will be live, fingers crossed, by the end of this week. So you can go there and sign up for my newsletter. I do weekly newsletter with my roundup from the week, my 7 posts from the week, as well as giveaways in between during the end of the week. And then, of course, on Twitter at Class Tech Tips. I just love Twitter as a social media platform for connecting. So I share lots and lots on Twitter, but I also love getting all those comments as well, and hearing what people are excited about. So I would say heading to the website, signing up for the newsletter, and of course, reaching out at Monica at classtechtips.com is the best way to connect.
Monica, thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate it. And again, classtechtips.com. Check it out. Probably by the time you listen to this, it'll be the new classtechtips.com. And I'd love to have you back on sometime. We'll do our educational podcasting show. We can talk all about WordPress, how the website works. We'll get into all
Mm-hmm.
those kind of details. We love talking about all that stuff over on that specific podcast. Again, Monica, thank you so much, and good luck with the book. And if you guys haven't checked it out yet, certainly do go over to Class Tech Tips and check it out. Subscribe to her newsletter. I just did. I think there's a lot of great stuff on here that we can learn from. Certainly give Monica some time over there on Class Tech Tips. Thank you very much for checking out TeacherCast today and having TeacherCast be the home of your professional development. There's, of course, several great ways that you can reach out to us and be a part of the show each and every week. We love it when you find us on Twitter at TeacherCast. Leave us a voicemail at teachercast.net/voicemail. Email us at feedback@teachercast.net. And, of course, this show can be archived over on iTunes and on YouTube. On behalf of everybody here on the TeacherCast Educational Broadcasting Network, my name is Jeff Bradbury. Thank you so much for joining us today. Until next time, keep up the great work in your classrooms and continue sharing your passions with your students.